Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. We've got tournament coverage for you for the first time in quite a while. I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are as well. Now before we get into the tournament or the coverage, I want to thank you all so much for the overwhelming support that you all showed me after the last update video, just kind of talking about the Galactic Championship, what was going on with the channel, and the plans and goals moving forward. So thank you all so much for the support. Now, this past weekend, I traveled to Mint Hill, North Carolina to get some top cut coverage of the Planetary Qualifier at your local game store. So we'll start out with the quarterfinal feature match where it was Sabine Yellow versus Kazuda Data Vault. We'll take a quick look at the deck list and then we'll get right into the match. So taking a look first at Peter's Sabine Yellow deck brings back some memories of the Spark of Rebellion meta where Sabine Yellow really took over at the end of set 1 meta. This looks very similar, but we've got some new cards as well. We also have several one-ofs. Now, one that really stands out to me is the one copy of Bamboozle in the main deck. That can be extremely important against any pilot leader like Kazuda, other pilots in the deck as well. You also have one additional Bamboozle on the sideboard that can come in games 2 and 3. Another card in the main deck that really stands out to me here is Clear the Field. This could be really good against some of Robert's early plays, especially if one of those early plays can get upgraded. Peter can really swing the momentum with that Clear the Field. Now let's take a look at the very interesting Kazuda Data Vault deck that Robert has. Kazuda is generally paired up with Aggression or Vigilance, but here we've got it paired with Command. Now why Command? Well, you get one of the best 2-cost units in the game with Battlefield Marine. You have a great suite of pilots with Luke Skywalker, Poe Dameron, and Chewbacca. You also get a wonderful ambush unit with Blue Leader that can ambush the space arena or the ground arena, and that can be very good against Sabine. You also have things like Jam Communication and Spark of Rebellion. Potentially pick off any Bamboozles that can stop your pilot, your leader. And then Robert also has Bamboozle in the sideboard. That can be really good against an early wing leader play on Sabine. We want to welcome everyone to our top cut coverage of this Planetary Qualifier in Mint Hill, North Carolina at your local game store. It's been a beautiful day in North Carolina, around 80 degrees. And we had a very solid turnout here at your local game store. 79 players in attendance for this Planetary Qualifier. We are now down to just 8. Peter Bowden versus Robert Gathings. Peter on the left piloting Sabine Yellow. Robert on the right piloting Kazuda Data Vault. Kazuda not generally paired with Command, and we see a very interesting Kazuda Data Vault. Robert has had great success with it so far today. And as we get started with Game 1, the N1 Starfighter starting things out for Robert, as he started with the initiative, the higher seed coming into this match. And it's going to be a pretty strong start for Peter, playing Leia Organa, readying that resource, and playing the R2-D2 unit from Jump to Light Speed. So it's a 1-4 in the ground arena, so a double unit start for Peter in the ground arena. Robert going space with the N1 Starfighter. Robert retains the initiative after Peter uses that Sabine action ability early to put 1 damage on each base. And first action, Robert with the first attack of the game. The N1 Starfighter getting in for 3. And now we're going to see a pretty strong play from Peter on turn 2. Fleet Lieutenant coming out. Leia Organa, a rebel, attacking with 2 additional power, 4 damage into Robert's base, and Robert will continue to load up the space arena. This time it is the Jump to Light Speed Millennium Falcon unit. And R2-D2 getting in for 1. So early here, Peter has put a little bit more damage on Robert's base. Keep in mind that Robert does have 3 more HP with Data Vault, 33 HP base versus Peter running the common 30 HP base. So Robert's still technically ahead by 1 here. And Robert is going to play Jam Communications with his first action here on the turn where both leaders can deploy. We see Surprise Strike, Bamboozle, and Millennium Falcon. This could be crucial because that Bamboozle could have easily stopped Kazuda deploying as a pilot upgrade. And look at that, Robert sniping Bamboozle with Jam Communications. He gets to discard an event from Peter's hand. Perfect timing for Jam Communications. Talking to Robert a little bit about this deck before this match started, and he said that Jam Communications, and he's also running Spark of Rebellion, they are so important to try and protect the Kazuda flip. So we do see Peter being aggressive here. Another 5 damage to base with Fleet Lieutenant and Leia Organa. Robert did deploy Kazuda as a pilot upgrade on the Millennium Falcon, which Millennium Falcon being piloted gets the additional power. And we're going to see the old school, the OG Millennium Falcon from Spark of Rebellion coming out for Robert as well. That enters play ready, and Robert is showing a ton of damage right now in the space arena. Peter does still have R2-D2 ready in the ground arena, showing 1 damage. As we have 12 damage on Robert's base right now, 5 damage on Peter's base. We have yet to use Sabine here, and Peter is just going to deploy Sabine. And Robert is going to get in for 7 here. Millennium Falcon, a 3-4. Gets +3/+3 with Kazuda attached as a pilot upgrade. And then Millennium Falcon gets the additional power for each upgrade it has, for each pilot upgrade. So 7 damage going to Peter's base. And now in terms of damage, we're all tied up. 12 damage on each base. Both the Millennium Falcon piece of junk and N1 Starfighter losing their abilities for the rest of this turn. Peter does get into base for 3. Sabine taking Robert's base up to 15 damage. Robert coming back across with 3 damage of his own. Millennium Falcon getting in 15 damage on each base. And now Peter plays his own Millennium Falcon piece of junk. So both players with some very similar actions here. 3 more damage to each base. 18 total damage represented on each base now, but R2-D2 changes that. He gets in for another 1. So Robert has claimed the initiative. We move to the next turn. 19 damage on Robert's base, just 18 on Peter's base. Robert with the initiative. Again, he is showing quite a bit of damage in the space arena. A total of 13 damage between the 2 Millennium Falcons and the Starfighter. 13 damage would be enough to close out this game. Peter just 12 HP remaining. And on Peter's side of the table, he is only showing 12 total damage, which would be 2 shy from the 33 he needs to deal. Peter also did have to pay the 1 resource to keep Falcon in play. Robert did not have to pay that resource, as Kazuda had removed the Millennium Falcon piece of junk, removed its abilities last turn. So not having to pay that additional resource. Robert with the initiative, getting in with a big swing. Once again, 7 damage with Millennium Falcon. Piloted by Kazuda, 25 damage on Peter's base. And over the last 2 turns, that Falcon has dealt 14 damage to Peter's base. And again, Robert is showing fatal between the Starfighter and the Millennium Falcon. Now, Peter does have an option for the Starfighter, because his own Millennium Falcon could attack and defeat that Starfighter, and that removes 3 possible damage. That is the play here. So Peter attacking with Millennium Falcon, piece of junk, defeating the Starfighter. And now Robert getting in for another 3 with his own OG Millennium Falcon. 28 damage on Peter's base. Just 2 more damage needed for Robert. Clearly didn't have a pump there to add any additional damage with either Falcon. So I don't know if he has a way to deal any more damage this turn, but Peter has to find a way to answer both of these space units, because 1 more attack from Robert would finish this game. So now the action back over to Peter. He is going to play Fleet Lieutenant. Sabine will attack into Robert's base for a total of 5 as it gets the +2 power from Fleet Lieutenant's when played ability. And Robert does have more damage for this turn. He plays another OG Falcon, enters play ready. Peter has no response, gives the fist bump, and Robert with the early lead here in the quarterfinals at your local game store. Both players are getting set for Game 2 of this Planetary Qualifier at your local game store. Be sure to check them out if you're in the area. Both of these players, a special moment for these guys. It's the first Top Cut appearance for both players in a Planetary Qualifier. Robert traveling down from Watkins, North Carolina. Peter coming up from Casey, South Carolina. Both players driving a couple hours to get to this event today. And interestingly enough, Peter didn't even know he was going to play in this event as of late last night. He decided this morning to travel up, brought his deck. The spots were filled, but he was hoping to just hang out, get some games in. He ended up getting a spot, and now he has made it all the way to the top 8. Pretty incredible story for sure. And at the start of Game 2, again, Peter finding himself in a hole. Robert winning Game 1. Battlefield Marine for Robert. It's Green Squadron A-Wing in the Space Arena for Peter. Peter was able to start with the initiative here in Game 2. We'll see if that makes a difference. Robert winning Game 1 with the initiative and starting things out on turn 2. It is the jump to light speed Han Solo piloting the Green Squadron A-Wing, and when played as an upgrade, you can attack with the attached unit. So Green Squadron A-Wing attacking for a total of 5 with the 2 power buff from Han Solo, so 5 damage to Robert's base. Battlefield Marine does get in for 3. Second straight game, we see R2-D2 from jump to light speed coming out for Peter early. And Robert playing Waylay, bouncing the Green Squadron A-Wing back to Peter's hand, so the Han Solo pilot upgrade defeated. And that will definitely slow some of the momentum that Peter had early. Now, Peter does have the initiative again. But right now, just looking at the board, Robert does have a little bit more power in the ground arena. He's got 3 damage showing with Battlefield Marine. Of course, R2-D2 for Peter is just a 1-4. So we'll see if Peter can change these numbers rather quickly here on the flip turn. Both players can deploy their leaders this turn. Now, something to note, Robert doesn't have a vehicle unit that Kazuda could pilot this time around. Kazuda jumped onto the Millennium Falcon in Game 1. But again, no vehicles at the moment. So first action for Peter this turn. He is going to deploy Sabine right away, threatening with some more damage here in the ground arena. And Robert is going to play Kira. First time we've seen Kira in this match. He gets to take a look at Peter's hand. And then he can name a card. And while Kira's in play, Peter will have to pay 3 more resources for the named card. Now we see Wing Leader, Red 3, Millennium Falcon, and L337 in Peter's hand. So we'll see if Robert does decide to potentially stop one of these 3 cost units that could come out on this turn. There is always the option to name a card that your opponent does not have in their hand. Maybe a card that you know could impact the match throughout the next few turns. That's certainly an option as well, but it looks like Robert is deciding between one of these three cost units, and he is going to named Millennium Falcon here, so that Falcon will cost a total of 6 currently for Peter. But he still has other options. He has Red 3 and Wing Leader that can both be played here. Red 3 would give both R2-D2 and Sabine Raid 1. The Wing Leader could also potentially come out and buff the Sabine. We've seen that's a classic Sabine line. And that is going to be the play. Wing Leader coming out. 2 experience tokens given to Sabine Leader unit. Battlefield Marine does get in for 3, 6 damage on Peter's base, but now Sabine is a 4/7 attacking into Robert's base. That is a total of 5 damage with the 4 power plus the on attack ability. Now we do see Robert deploying Kazuda, but just deployed as a unit in the ground arena. Kazuda a lot less scary when deployed as a unit versus a pilot. Kazuda just a 2/5 in the ground arena. Still has the on attack ability that allows him to blank abilities on friendly units, but in this position there's no units that he really wants to target. R2-D2 getting in for another damage to Robert's base. Robert getting in for 2 damage to Peter's base with Kazuda. And as we move on to the next round, both players sitting with 22 HP remaining on their base. And both players currently representing a total of 8 damage that they can deal to the opponent's base. With the initiative, Peter will swing with Sabine first. That's 5 damage into Robert's base. Which player changes the math first? Which player truly gets ahead in this race? Here on turn 4, the 5 resource turn, Robert gets in to Peter's base for 3 with Cura. And not only were both players showing 8 damage, or representing 8 damage on board, both players representing 8 damage with 3 actions, right? 3 different units. Now this can certainly change some numbers. There is the red 3. We saw it in Peter's hand last turn when Cura was played. Red 3 is going to give each of those friendly heroism units on Peter's side of the board Raid 1. So that certainly changes the math a bit and would put Peter ahead in the race by a couple damage. Now Robert has to decide, where do these attacks go? So far through the whole match, Game 1 and what we've seen so far in Game 2, we've seen both players attack into a unit exactly 1 time. So it's been all gas, no brakes for both players, and just constantly trading attacks into each other's base. But now it looks like Robert does have an answer. He's got Blue Leader. Blue Leader will come into the space arena as a 3/3 with ambush. Where does the ambush go? He could attack and take out either one of these units. He will ambush and defeat Red 3. So Red 3 defeated. And Robert has ordered the abilities where he did the ambush first. Then he resolves the when played ability, paying the 2 extra resources and moving Blue Leader to the ground arena and giving it 2 experience tokens as well. So that is now a 5/3 in the ground arena. And once again, the math now back to equal because the 2 extra damage that Peter had represented with Red 3 taken off the board. So we've got another 2 damage coming through to Robert's base, putting the damage total up to 18. Battlefield Marine once again chipping away. 3 damage to Peter's base. Both players still holding on to 1 ready unit, but at this point, Peter has to start considering, do you claim the initiative? Do you guarantee an attack with Sabine next turn, or does he value the 1 damage with R2 a little bit more? Of course, Peter still has 2 ready resources to work with as well. So Peter showing 1 damage still ready. Robert with 2 damage. Having Kazuda here, and we're actually going to extend the ground arena a little bit for Peter here. He plays L337. That was also information revealed to Robert with Kira. So now he has another 2 power in the ground arena represented. And now Robert has a decision to make. Does he attack with Kazuda, or does he claim the initiative? Robert could potentially have an answer to Sabine right away at the start of next turn, or he could believe he is in a position to race. He has the blue leader that's attacking for 5. So it looks like Robert is just going to claim the initiative. And now Peter has 1 more decision to make on this turn. R2-D2 ready, can deal an extra damage to Robert's base or put a damage on 1 of these ground units on Robert's side of the table. And it looks like R2-D2 will go into Robert's base here. So 19 damage on Robert's base, 14 damage on Peter's base. So Peter a little bit ahead in the race. 16 HP remaining to Robert's 14 HP remaining. Robert with the initiative. Robert right now showing 13 damage in the ground arena. He'll take the first action. And he is going to pay 5 resources for the Adelphi Patrol Wing. When played, you get to attack with a unit. And because Robert has the initiative, that blue leader will not only attack, it will attack with 2 additional power, 7 damage into Peter's base. 21 damage on now. Now, Peter's still not in a terrible spot with 9 HP remaining on base. Robert is only showing 8 possible damage in the ground arena, and Robert does not have a way to buff any of these units' power with just 1 ready resource. So Peter has to keep that in mind. Robert cannot win on this turn. He will have to take at least 1 action next turn if these 3 units went into base. And we do hear it. That is exactly what Peter has concluded here, that Robert is 1 damage shy from winning on this turn. So now Peter has to do the math. He can deal a total of 10 damage with these 4 units. So Sabine gets in for 5. That's 24 damage on Robert's base. Both players down to just 9 HP remaining. What a race this has been so far through these 2 games. We have seen a unit attack another unit 2 times. Once in game 1, once in game 2. Here in game 2, it was blue leader coming in, ambushing, and defeating red 3, which was certainly important. And then blue leader getting in for 7 on this turn. And now Robert attacking with Kazuda. Well, no, little pump fake here from Robert. He was contemplating making an attack with But it looks like we are going to audible with a different attack here. Battlefield Marine, 3 damage to Peter's base. That's 24 damage on each base. Peter down to 6 HP remaining. But Peter does have all 6 resources ready and 3 cards in hand. He's going to pay 3, and here comes For a Cause. This could certainly change the math. Now, he does hit 1 non-heroism card here. We've got Fleet Lieutenant, Surprise Strike, and 2 Cartel Turncoats, so 3 damage to Robert's base, bringing the damage total to 27. But he did show Surprise Strike, and he just put Surprise Strike back on top. So we know that Peter has a +3 attack buff that he could play on the first action of his next turn.
I can't touch that because I already put it on, but I showed a Surprise Strike.
Robert evens things up, 27 damage on each base. Kira getting in for 3. Peter claims the initiative. He's got the Surprise Strike that he can play onto Sabine, and that would be enough. That'd be 8 total damage. He just needs to deal 6. Robert will scoop it up. Great claim from Peter, and he has evened things up here in the quarterfinals. We're all tied up at your local game store. All right, it all comes down to this. Game 3, Peter versus Robert. It was the 3 versus 6 matchup here. Robert coming in to the top 8 as the 3 seed. Peter the 6 seed. Winner of this game will advance to the semifinals. Robert has chosen to start with the initiative. It's Battlefield Marine for Robert, and on Peter's side, it's Cartel Turncoat. And look at this, a very strong double Cartel Turncoat start for Peter. Robert has claimed the initiative. Peter with the Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. And what Robert would love to see here would be Blue Leader. We saw Blue Leader come in and ambush and defeat Red 3 in Game 2. And it would be in a great spot here as well. Robert does have the initiative. Don't know if he has it here. He starts out with Battlefield Marine, 3 damage to Peter's base. And now another 2 damage coming through to Robert's base. 4 damage on Peter's base, 3 on Robert's base. He does have his resources to spend here. He will pay 3. Does he have the Blue Leader? It is not the Blue Leader. It is the Jump to Light Speed Millennium Falcon. Get out and push. So it will not have an immediate impact on the board. Peter has the door open. He will get in for another 2 damage. 5 damage on Robert's base. Add another to that total. Sabine action ability. 6 damage on Robert's base. 5 on Peter's base. And look at this. Here comes the clear the field from Peter. Returning the Millennium Falcon to Robert's hand. And that is a great tempo play from Peter, as that does a couple things. It protects his space arena currently because there's no space threats on the other side to answer these 2 turncoats. And it also keeps a vehicle off of Robert's side of the table that Kazuda would be able to deploy onto as a pilot. So a very strong play for Peter on turn 2. Now Robert does still have the initiative. And once again, Battlefield Marine getting in for 3, bringing Peter's damage total up to 8. Peter calls. 2 damage of his own to Robert's base, and now we're both at 8 damage on each base. Now here comes another 4-cost play from Robert on turn 3. It is going to be Poe Dameron Poe creates an X-Wing token, and then he is going to attach Poe onto the X-Wing token. So that X-Wing token now a 4/5 in the space arena. But no vehicle unit without a pilot on it that Kazuda can deploy to. Cartel Turncoat, the other one, getting in for 2. Robert, the first one to double digits with damage on base. Kazuda is deployed into the ground arena. Second straight game that Robert has had to deploy Kazuda as a ground unit. It didn't work out great in game 2. Ended up losing that game. Now we see the Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. Kazuda getting into Peter's base for 2. Once again, both bases have the same total right now, 11 damage on. Robert's claimed. Here comes Sabine, 2-cost unit. Then Sabine leader unit deployed, and Peter is going to use up the rest of his resources. He plays sneak attack, playing the wing leader for 3 less, so essentially paying 0 for wing leader. Sabine gets 2 experience tokens again, and the Sabine leader unit getting in for another 5, and just like that, Peter has really swung the game with big momentum in his direction. And he's ahead in the race. 18 damage on Robert's base. And great board presence for Peter. On Peter's side of the table, he is showing a possible 12 damage that he could deal to Robert's base between these 4 units. Robert only has 9 damage represented between those 3 units. And Peter pointing out, and it's pretty critical, the 2-cost Sabine unit cannot be attacked because Peter controls 3 other aspects among his other units. So the Battlefield Marine can't just attack and defeat that Sabine. So here comes Surprise Strike from Robert. The X-Wing token getting in for 7, bringing the damage totals up to 18 apiece. Action back over to Peter. He did not resource here as he was in top deck mode. He used up all his cards last turn for that big explosive turn. So just 4 ready resources.
So I should be at 18.
And just correcting the tokens on Peter's base. He did take 7 from the X-Wing token, and he was at 11, so we are at 18 damage apiece. Another close one, and again, it's another game where so far both players ignoring each other's units. We've just been to base. 2 aggressive decks, 2 decks that are not considered meta decks. Both of these players having success with them, finding themselves in the top 8. Here in Game 3, the closing stages of Game 3. Peter has 12 HP remaining on his base. Robert has 15. Now again, 12 damage right now on Peter's side of the board would leave him 3 damage shy. And for Robert, he's still showing 5, which leaves him 7 damage shy. And here comes Red 3. Red 3 back out. That gives each one of Peter's ready units Raid 1. They're all heroic units. Now Robert is going to play Millennium Falcon, the OG Falcon that enters play ready. Now that does give Robert an answer to one of these space threats. He could take out one of the ready turncoats, or he could take out Red 3 and save some more damage. So now the action back over to Peter, once again having to do the math here. With 1 extra power from each attack, Peter showing 16 total damage, which would be enough to win the game. So Sabine is going to get in for 6. That on-attack ability, dealing that 1 extra damage to Robert's base, makes it 6 total. Robert down to 9 HP remaining. And now Robert has to make the decision. What does he answer in the space arena? The red 3 is representing 3 extra damage between those ready units. 1 cartel turncoat is representing 3 damage. And if he defeats one of the cartel turncoats, he can claim a bounty, which would allow Robert to draw 1 card. So the Millennium Falcon is going to attack and defeat 1 turncoat. Falcon remains on the board with 2 HP remaining. Robert gets to draw 1 card. And now the action back over to Peter. He's going to attack for a total of 4 with the 2-cost Sabine unit. 3 power with the Raid 1, the on-attack ability. Allowing Peter to deal 1 extra damage to Robert's base. So 28 damage on Robert's base. So now, once again, Peter is in a position where an attack with the Sabine leader unit next turn would be game over. He only needs 5 more damage. Battlefield Marine gets in for 3. Peter still has 9 HP remaining on base as the damage total is up to 21. If Peter claims here, I don't think Robert can answer the Sabine leader unit. He is only showing 2 damage with Kazuda. Sabine has 7 HP, no ready resources, and there it is. Peter claims the initiative, and that will wrap this matchup. Peter completes the come-from-behind victory, winning games 2 and 3. Peter didn't know until early this morning if he would compete in this Planetary Qualifier, and now he is moving on to the semifinals here in North Carolina at your local game store. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. It's great to be back, and we will have more coverage. The semifinal coverage from your local game store in North Carolina will be coming soon. Thank you again for your support. May the force be with you, and until next time, take care.